Now for the vulnerability scanner, there's two ways that we can access it. I'll show you the main way, of course, on this side tab here, the vulnerability scanner. So with this vulnerability scanner, it is a network-based vulnerability scanner reaching out from the NeQter platform. So it is not reliant upon client-side agents. If it can reach it, it can scan it. So that's the rule of the game with the NeQter vulnerability scanner. So I'll go and I'll show you just what it takes to make a scan. So much like with everything else, you can go super simple, super fast, or you can say, you know what, I really need to customize this and make it my own. And you can do that as well. So if I wanted to run an instant scan on a particular IP that I had in mind, I can say, go forth and run a scan on this IP. Just punch it in there. However, the best prescriptive way to build out a scan is by making a new task, and you can specify the what it's targeting, if scan targets, how often it occurs, and how deep the scan is going to be. So if I want to go to scan targets, say make a new one. So once you've created a configuration, you can call it up later. So for example, if I wanted to simply do 192.168.1.0/24, this is going to scan that Class C subnet, all 255 IPs. Now, the scanner allows me to go up to /20. So 4,000 IPs and change, essentially. I can also do anything under that, /23. I can do /28, whatever I want from that standpoint. If I wanted to include CIDR notation, I don't have to though. I can do a range of IPs. So you know what? I'm only going to scan 100 IPs, 0 to 100, for example, and I can exclude different hosts. Most notably, you might want to exclude the default gateway so it doesn't create a large amount of traffic on your network. Now, I do get questions on that, so I will make a little bit of a tangent here. The NeQter scanner, you can customize how many hosts it scans at the same time, how deeply it is inspecting those hosts. At most, I've seen it take up to 5 to 10 megabits per second of bandwidth when it's targeting a certain asset. But it kind of has that roving eye. It moves from host to host. So it looks at one for 30 to 60 seconds with that speed of traffic and then moves on. So in terms of network impact, there's not a lot of total impact unless, of course, you have a slow network or if you don't omit certain gateways or routing equipment, which kind of causes a loop of sorts. So everything always comes down to networking when you are configuring this. Just wanted to call that out. So additionally, you can say, you know what, all these things look good. Or you can say, instead of this list of ports, I want all of the ports. Or all assigned is going to be, of course, all of the assigned ports. If you wanted to do all TCP, you can. It's just going to be 65,000 ports that it's going to scan, so it might take a bit of time to do so, but you have the power and the authority to do that with this. And maybe most importantly, I can do a credentialed scan, so I can do authenticated checks against SSH, SMB, i.e. Windows, ESXi, or SNMP. So we set that up, we set those targets. Like I mentioned, if you already set one up, you can select it from the dropdown. Schedules, we can say, I want to run this one time. Go at it. Or I can make a new schedule and keep it kind of vanilla. Maybe I say, you know what, let's do it once a week. and I can specify the time that it performs the scan. Or I can run it once a month. Or from a customization standpoint, I can say, you know what? I want to run this the first Monday of every month or the first calendar day of every month. So it's very, very customizable in how you set up the scanner. Lastly, you can determine the depth that this is going to run at. So full and fast is what we recommend from a monthly standpoint. Discovery is helpful. It's a light scan that discovers to see what is on our network, and that feeds into what I had been hinting at prior, those detectable hosts or unknown hosts. So we set that all up, we hit save, or again, we can run it on demand. And the vulnerability scanner is pulling from the National Vulnerability Database, it is pulling in daily. So it has hundreds of thousands of different NVTs and CVEs it is comparing against. So this isn't just for Windows. This is anything from a networking equipment standpoint, infrastructure, from a Linux standpoint. As you can see, there's some SUSE Linux issues. This one is a high in 8.1. So if a vulnerability is detected, it is going to include all of this information from the National Vulnerability Database. The summary here, for example, is this host is missing an update for a Java package. Surprise, surprise. And it has been determined it's a very, a high in 8.1. Here's all the information about it. Here's what it is affecting. The solution is a vendor fix, which are the best ones to have, so you can get right from the vendor how to fix it. In the reference area here, we can open up this tab and we can go right to SUSE.com. We can see, okay, here's what it is, here's what is affected. Okay, great. How do I patch it? It will tell me right here. So we'll go to a scan that does have some results. We'll go into tasks, we'll go into reports, and we'll see this last scan that ran on the 8th. We can see, okay, well, what did we find? Well, we found some mediums and some lows. I click in, much like that one I was just looking at. It tells me how it was detected, what its impact is if we don't fix it. And this one's pretty easy. I can just filter incoming traffic to these ports, and that will solve for that one. So if I run this scan again, this will be removed. Now, right now it's showing me only hosts that have vulnerabilities associated or ports that were detected to have vulnerabilities. One of the nice things about the Vuln Scanner is I can also grab informational items. So if I wanted to see, ports that have a vulnerability on them are important, but let me see all available ports in my network, well, here's how you can do that. If I wanted to see operating systems present, TLS certificates in use, this is the best way to do that. And it can also show me, from a topology standpoint, the different assets that are within my network and how they are routed, and if those assets have been scanned, how severe are the vulnerabilities on those assets. So a lot of wealth of information with this scanner here. You can go even further into customization, changing the configurations of scan profiles and what is included or what is excluded. But ultimately, you run it, you schedule it, it will inform you of vulnerabilities. The other way that I can access the scanner, which is helpful in my opinion, we go to hosts, we go to vulnerabilities up at the top here, and we need to change the time view because this is just for the last 24 hours. So if I do the last month, I can see that scan result in here. And it is cross-referencing the vulnerabilities that have been detected and showing me which hosts within my inventory that they were detected on. I can also view the vulnerability view, so most prolific vulnerabilities. So I can tackle it that way. I can say, what vulnerabilities are hitting the most or affecting the most hosts. So I can see that here. So, lastly, there are a series of different reports that I can generate for the vulnerability scanner. Detailed report includes everything. Most vulnerable hosts is this view I was just looking at. Vulnerability frequency report is this other view I was looking at. And then one I think that is very important is this vulnerability delta report, where I can see if we'll just run this report and we will save it and we will open it. What this is going to, so I probably need to let me go and make sure I am using the right one here. Demo land full and fast. What this is supposed to show me is between now and the last time the scan was run, it will show me what has been added or what stayed the same or what is removed. So if I open up the vulnerability scanner again, it actually shows me a trend for this scan result where this one stayed the same. Another one I had done, this one's just been kind of drawing a line. Things have been the same for this one, but if it goes down or goes up, that will be reflected um, in the delta comparison report, which will basically be showing me these results, but in a nicer view in that Excel. So that is the vulnerability scanner. To round up, the vulnerability scanner, which is in this hosts area here, it can also inform me about hosts that have been detected. They're not formally reconciled into the inventory yet, but I can discover things. I can see what they are by running an Nmap scan, by expanding this out and seeing, okay, this unknown host is actually another NeQter appliance I have running on the network. I can see which ports are available, its IP, its OS information. I can see that all right here. And one thing I forgot to mention, I'll just circle back on the inventory here. Events will tell me any changes that have been detected or perceived for the different assets. So if I wanted to search and in Windows event logs, but I want to see it from the registry area here. So I can see if a particular host has added a software or removed a software or component or thumb drive. I can see removable drives. I can see that listed out in the hardware area, or printers, stuff like that. So just wanted to wrap up that last piece of the inventory and vulnerability scanner area.